Hello everyone, I'm Gaddux Games, and welcome to another Mobile Legends video. This time I'm bringing you an updated tier list for the month of April. As many of you know, I don't make this tier list myself. Instead, I always try to bring you the best tier list I can find, or the one that seems the most accurate to me, even if it's not perfect, so keep that in mind. No tier list is going to be perfect for everyone, but this one comes from an Asian creator who, out of all the tier lists I bring you, this is the one I saw in the comments that you like the most. It's based on the competitive scene, but also on the official Mobile Legends statistics worldwide in the highest ranks. But before we start, let me just recommend the sponsor of this video, thanks to whom this tier list is possible. Haven't you tried Winster yet to top up diamonds in Mobile Legends? What are you waiting for? Currently, it's the best platform for topping up diamonds because not only will you get the best price, but with every top-up, you'll also get wins credits, which you can use for future top-ups. You'll also get to spin the prize wheel where you can win prizes, including more diamonds. Another benefit this platform offers is that it has many payment methods depending on your country, so you'll surely find a payment method that works for you and is more convenient for you. Also, recharging is very easy and fast. You just have to enter your account details, select the amount you want to recharge, choose the payment method that suits you best, and that's it. Your top-up arrives almost instantly. And if you have any questions, it also has a built-in chat where you can talk directly with someone from customer service. So if you want to try it, I recommend it 100%. And you'll find the link in the description and the pinned comment of this video. And we start with the role of roaming or Roa. We have at the lowest level, which would be C, they need a buff. We have Saber, Jawhead, Belleric, and Valir. Well, out of these, I would go with Belleric. Although it's true that Belleric isn't that strong right now, so I do think he needs a buff. Valir is a roamer. I'm not really convinced. Jawhead was strong as a roamer at some point. Now I also think he needs a buff to become what he once was years ago. Jawhead as a roamer used to be the best. And Saber as a roamer, I just don't really like it. It can be useful on some occasions, but in general, I'll say it again, I just don't like roaming assassins. But out of these, the most viable one, even though he needs a buff, especially in lower Elos, for me is Belleric. Now let's move on to the next level. Level B. Okay, well, these also wouldn't be in the meta. They wouldn't be the best options. We have Carmilla, Kadita, Chip, Johnson, and Edith. Well, out of these, if I have to choose one, maybe I'd pick Chip. I don't think Chip is that bad. And Johnson, well, in good hands, he can perform well. Although it's true that in the current meta, he doesn't have much of a place. So, I agree. But if I had to choose one, I'd choose Chip. Next level, A, decent. From here on, these would be heroes that could have a chance in the current meta. We have Dizzy, Natalia, Mincetar, Vaxia, Estes, Rafaela, Lolita, and Maya. Well, from these I would rule out Natalia, but that's just personal preference. I don't like Natalia as a roamer. Also, I'm not completely convinced by Maya either. But well, if you're a Maya main and you do well roaming, well, that's okay. But I'm not sold on Maya as a roamer. And if I had to choose one, well, I would pick Dizzy. I think Dizzy can help in most matches. And also Estes. But well, with Estes, you need a team that can hold out. And well, Estes needs to be reinforced. Next level, a plus, it would generally be good. We have Tigreal, Florin, Angela, Acho, Guinevere, Kufra, Akai, Minos, Franquito, and Atlas. Well, quite a large group at this level. The one I'm not convinced about, at least for solo queue, is Guinevere. I think at high elo she's effective, but you have to be really good with Guinevere to do well roaming. So I wouldn't recommend her unless you're a pro player. And then, well, we have a classic there, Tigreal. Yeah, I think he's still a good option. Also Minos and Atlas. I would stick with those three, Tigreal, Minos, and Atlas. I think they're good tanks and not too hard to handle. Then we have the conditional S- tier. Caleb, Kalia, Vadan, Helker, Matilda, and Helos. Well, actually quite a few. Well, I think they're good for roaming. Except for Helker there. I'll say it again, my problem there is with roaming assassins. But if Helker works well for you as a roamer, then go for it. Although I think it's more for pro players and high, very high elo. or competitive play. And finally, we have the S plus tier. It would be the strongest in the meta. We have Marcel, Grok, Gilda, Gatotkacha, Blue, and Kaya. Well, we see that Marcel is really high up, huh? But a lot of people didn't like him or aren't convinced. It's just that Marcel, for me, isn't for solo queue. But if you play trios or as a team, then he's a good option. If you know how to handle him and play as a team, then yes, Marcel is very strong. But for solo queue, I don't think he's working out. And then we have Grok, who is still very strong. Gilda is also doing very well right now. Gatotkacha is still in the meta too. The same goes for Zeta, Blue, and Kaya. So honestly, any of those tanks are some of the best right now. Now let's continue with the experience lane. At the lowest tier, we have C Azul, Aulis, Jin, Martis, Sylvana, Aldous, Velaric, Yuuzhan, and Argus. Well, quite a big list of heroes that need a buff in the experience lane. I think that out of these, Zune might not be that bad. I don't consider Zune to be that bad. In good hands, he can perform well, so you tell me. The others, I do think they currently need a buff. What stands out to me is how quickly Sylvana went down. But Sylvana, I have my doubts. I saw some good Sylvana players who can perform well in the EXP lane. But in general, yes, these heroes need a buff. Next level B, that would be okay. We have Leomord, Alucard, Edith, Dyroth, Alpha, Barats, Balmond, Khalid, Hilda, Hylos, Jawhead, and Vayne. Well, that's also quite a long list. If I have to pick some of these for the experience lane, I would go with Khalid because of his endurance. And he also has damage, so personally, I don't consider him that bad for the experience lane. And then maybe Hylos as well, for the same reason. He has endurance. He also has decent damage. The next level would be A. Decent ones. We have Paquito, Winiver, Minotaur, Freya, Vadan, Gatotkacha, and Cho. I mostly agree with this level. Maybe I would even move Gatotkacha up one more level. I think Gatotkacha is a good option. And Freya, after the nerf, I think she did become a bit weaker. The next level would be A+, generally good. We have Ruby, Benedetta, Terizla, Maya, and Xborg. Well, I also agree with these. If I have to choose one of them, I would go with Ruby because she's easy to handle. And then Xborg. Xborg is also pretty easy. And in good hands, well, Xborg is quite tough to face. Then at the S level, we have, well,
Cici y Lucas.
I pretty much agree as well. That level seems right to me. And finally, in the S meta level, we have Arlo, Yusin, Zora, Lapu-Lapu, Poveus, Alice, Esmeralda, and Uranus. Here we see some heroes that are quite common in solo queue, but others are hardly ever seen. For example, Esmeralda and Uranus. For me, they are not... I wouldn't recommend them to you, especially Esmeralda. But in competitive play, apparently it is a good option. Although I have seen players who know how to use Esmeralda well. But there are really very few. But if I have to choose some heroes from this S+ list, well, I would go with Sora and Yuuzhan. Now let's move on to the mid lane. At the lowest C level, we don't have anyone. So according to this tier list, it seems like no one would need a buff. So let's go to the next one. Next level B level. Okay, we have Valir, Vale, and Nana. Well, they're three mages that can perform well in good hands. But I don't think they're in the meta right now. But if you're a pro with one of these mages, well, go ahead. Next, level A, they'd be decent. We have Xavier, Aurora, Cyclops, Vexana, Odette, Faramis, Vayne, and Angela. Well, here we see that there are some heroes who aren't mages, but they're played in mid like Vayne and Angela. They're generally used more in competitive play or in the higher ranks, whether it's Mythic Glory or at 100 stars or close to 100 stars. So if you haven't reached Mythic yet, or you just got to Mythic, honestly, I wouldn't recommend these heroes for mid. I prefer mages for mid rather than a Vayne or Angela. But if I have to recommend one, is there any? Well, I would recommend Vexana. I think she still has a lot to offer. And also Paramis. Next, A+ tier. Generally, the good ones are Kagura, Guxion, Luoyi, and Gord. There are also Sicilian, Selena, Chang'e, Eudora, and Jask. Well, I'm a bit surprised that Eudora is ranked so high here. I guess it's because of the buff. But she deserves to be that high. I see Eudora a lot. So, any Eudora mains out there, tell me if she's really that OP. Well, she's not at the highest levels either, but she's generally good. But if I have to pick someone from this list, well, I'd go with Kagura and Zaz since they're my mains. Because I'm a Zaz main, and well, I do pretty well with him. Next level, in the situational tier, we have Lilia, Valentina, Novaria, Lunox, and Farsa. Well, I pretty much agree with this level. I think they're all good mages. And finally, in the S plus tier, these would be meta. We have Sushin, Eevee, Kimmy, Kadita, and Zetian. Well, I have only one criticism here. It's about Eevee. I don't think she's that overpowered. I think they exaggerated a bit. But anyway, in good hands, Eevee can still be a problem. And if I have to choose one of these, well, I'd go with Sushin. I find her really annoying. And also with Kadita. But well, Kadita has to be in good hands. And then she destroys you. She also has a lot of mobility. Now we continue with the gold lane. At the lowest tier, these heroes need buffs. Milla, Zilong, Popol, and Koopa, and Argus. Well, as you can see, Zilong appears. But that's mostly from competitive play and high elo. I wouldn't recommend you use Zilong. Also, notice that he's at the very bottom. So, never use Zilong in the gold lane. But we see that Milla appears. Well, not Argus either. Don't use Argus in the gold lane either. But Milla and Papalakoopa appear. I don't think Papalakoopa is that bad for the gold lane. But well, apparently he isn't performing well, both in statistics and in competitive play. Next level, level B. Okay, we have Wanwan, Layla, Hanabi, Kimmy, Roger, and Zun. Well, from these, I think that Wanwan, in good hands, can still be effective. Then Layla. Well, Layla really depends a lot on having a good tank, so I wouldn't recommend her. Hanabi. I also know that not many people are fans of Hanabi, but in the current meta, I still don't recommend her. Well, unless you're doing well with Hanabi. In that case, sure, go ahead. Then we have Kimmy. Well, Kimmy doesn't perform well in the gold lane, but in the mid lane, she still performs well. Roger, which I also think is not the best option in the gold lane. And then we have Zun, a fighter in the gold lane, and I'll say it again. If you're playing solo queue, I don't recommend going to the gold lane since others will likely troll and report you. Next level, in decent tier, we have Cece, Melissa, Brody, and Ruby. Here, I'll repeat the same thing. Cece and Ruby are not usually used in the gold lane. At least not in solo queue. Maybe in high elo, yes. But I would recommend you use them only if you're playing trio or in a team. Then in the S tier, we have Yi Sun Shin, Sora, Ixia, and Freya. Well, out of these, I would personally recommend Ixia. I use her, and I'm not even a main marksman. And even so, I crush it with her. So in the gold lane, if you ask me for a recommendation, I'd say Ixia. Then in the S plus tier, from the meta, we have Claude, Granger, Carrie, and Carrie. Well, we see that Claude is really high up, but that's mainly because of competitive play. Claude is the most used hero in competitive play, and also in high elo. But in solo queue, he's not used much. I think it's because of his complexity. It's not that easy to dominate with Claude, so I wouldn't recommend him to you if you're playing solo queue and you're not high elo. The one I would recommend is Carrie. I saw Carrie in action, and honestly, she's really OP. And finally, guys, let's go with the jungle role, the most anticipated one. At the lowest level, see, we have Balmond, Jin, Aldous, Argus, Popple, and Koopa, and Jawhead. Well, out of these, the one I don't completely agree with. I mean, I don't think Popple and Koopa are that bad. I've seen them in the jungle a few times, and for me, at least in solo queue, they can still perform well in the right hands. The others, though, I pretty much agree that right now they need a buff. To go jungle, next, level B, we have Freya, Cyclops, Alice, Ling, Aulus, Esmeralda, Martis, Dyroth, Roger, Sun, and Saber. Alright, some of them surprised me. I didn't know they were using Esmeralda in the jungle, but I really wouldn't recommend it. Jungle Alice. Well, it could work, although I don't really like it either. I recommend using these in the jungle if you're in ranked. If your rank isn't very high yet, Saber is still effective. And then maybe Freya. Even though she was nerfed, Martis as a jungler is also good. If you're not very high rank and you're playing solo queue, I think it's not a bad option. Next, level A. Decent ones. We have Alucard, Alpha, Helcurt, Benedetta, Bane, Karina, and Barats. Well, out of these jungle heroes, I would go with Alpha and Barats. The others, I don't see them as that strong, but in good hands, they can perform well. Now let's move on to the A+ tier. Generally good. We have Thomas, Gusian, Eamon, Julian, Nolan, Fanny, and Exborg. Well, from this group, I would highlight Julian. I've seen him in the jungle and he's still strong. And also Exborg. Exborg because he's very annoying. He's hard to kill. Pretty tough and also deals a lot of damage. Next level. Yes, we have Harley, Lancelot, Lucas, Joy, Vaxia, and Uranus. Well, this S tier is pretty unusual. Harley. Honestly, I haven't seen many good Harley players, so personally I wouldn't recommend him. Currently, he used to be stronger before. As for Lancelot, I think so. Lucas too. Joy also seems strong to me. Honestly, I don't see Vaxia much. So, no. I haven't seen him in action. And Uranus either. So, maybe in competitive or high elo, they use them more. But in solo queue, I haven't seen them. And finally, in the S tier of the meta, we have Leomor, Fredrin, Jisunjin, Suju, Hanzo, and Hayabusa. Well, out of these, the one that surprised me the most personally was Hanzo. After the last patch, I ran into some Hanzo players who are honestly really annoying. Very strong, hard to stop, and hard to kill. I think the last patch made Hanzo pretty OP. That is, if you know how to use him. But I ran into several really good and tricky Hanzo players. So I would highlight Hanzo if you know how to use him. The same goes for Jisunjin if you know how to use him. Hayabusa obviously only if you're a pro. And Suju is also pretty strong. So those are the most OP ones I've seen. They seem to have been in the rankings lately. So, well guys, that's it for this April tier list. You already know, this is just to give you a general idea of what's in the meta and what's not right now. Leave your opinion in the comments, but always be respectful. And, if you like the video, give it a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.